Okay, let's do Photoshop. Here's what the Photoshop looks like. This is when you open it up and you'll see a whole bunch of different things. Yours may be a little different depending on what version you have, but we're going to go to what we have new file. Sometimes down here on the left-hand side, it will say create file, either one or new file like it is up there. It's up to you what version you have. So let's go to new file. As you can see right here, I've got a whole bunch of recents up here, but of course we have saved and photo and things that are already pre-done, just like Illustrator. I'm not going to go over those too much. I'm just going to go with our recents, and you're going to see I've done a whole bunch of work, but what I'm more concerned about is off on the right-hand side. The things I like to look for is the first thing is we're going to look and see it says Untitled 1. I would get into a great habit of putting your name and whatever the assignment is. Or for you people that are actually working, the actual job name itself, okay? I'm just gonna go with Mr. Mo, assignment one. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna look down what certain things are. I've got a custom one here, 8.5 by 11, which is your traditional letter piece or your letter size, excuse me, piece of poor word. And we're gonna look at that. Notice we have your width and your height. You can type those in, whatever you want, but it's not always inches. As you can see in the drop-down bar, you'll see pixels, centimeters, millimeters, points, and picas. It usually defaults to pixels because that's what we're working with. We're manipulating pixels in Photoshop. But I like to do inches just so I stay consistent with what I've been teaching in Illustrator, so it kind of walks back and forth. Your preference, you do what you want to do, but I'm going to go with inches, okay? Second thing is we have our width and our height, and then we also have our orientation. So technically, we can just go here, click the orientation. I am going to go with a landscape rather than a portrait, just because I know what picture I'm going to be posting in here. We also have artboards. If you click this button right here, it'll tell us we have artboards. Don't need that right now, so I'm going to leave it unchecked. But here's the big one right now. It's your resolution. Now you got to remember, if you're going to do something on the web or an app or something like that, 72 is what people like to use. And the reason being is not because of the detail, it's because of the quickness that it will refresh in your on your screen. It's all about refreshing rate, how fast you can pull up an actual image and things like that. I, of course, am teaching a graphic design class. We will print a lot of these out. We have art shows. I am going to tell you you need to do a resolution of 300. So that's what we're going to go with. Also, we're going to go with pixels per inch because we're working in inches. We call that PPI, okay? There are other things we can do, pixels per centimeter, but we're going to stick with the inches because we're using inches up here. Next thing is we have color mode. Most of our work is done digitally, so it's on a screen. So I would recommend you do the RGB color. That's red, green, blue, and that's what most monitors and digital media uses, okay? Now, there's other things we can also do. We can do CMYK, grayscale, you name it, bitmap, and lab colors. CMYK, I would recommend you use if this is going to print and you're actually going to do something that you want to print, because most printers use cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. The K is black. So that's why we would use that thing. So we know that we're getting a true color when we're printing it. Okay. Over here to the right-hand side, we have bits. We have our 8-bit. We have 16 and 32. I'm just going to stay with 8-bit right now. So when I actually do some work, you can see it and you can see what it looks like quicker. The more bit, of course, is going to be a little bit more text on your computer. That's up to you. It depends on what you're using this for. I'm not going to go into the advanced ones, so we're going to keep it basic. So let's come down here and say create. As you will see up here, we have our board itself. It looks similar to Illustrator. Tools to the left. I have just properties and layers open. What you do if it's a default thing, you'll probably have color up here, properties here or attributes, and then usually our layers down here. I've already have mine set up to where I like my layers and properties and I work from there. Another thing you want to check also is in the far right hand corner up top, you'll see the small little square I'm hovering over. It says choose a workspace. Make sure you're in Essentials. As you can see, there's a whole bunch of other different workspaces, which if you're doing specifically photography, it has more of the tools that you need to touch up the actual photograph. If you're painting, which we'll be doing later on in the semester, it'll give you other things like brushes, better color palette, things like that. And of course, motion, you can do a little bit of animation, then graphics and web, and actually 3D. For right now, because this is the first thing we're going to do, we're going to stay with our essentials. So make sure that's checked off. Now what we're going to do is I've already going to copy over a image I'm going to come up here. I've already copied it. Going to go edit and paste. I'm going to pop it in there. Several ways we can do that. If you have it saved on your hard drive, we can come down here to where it says File, and we can say Place Linked or Embedded. I'd prefer embedded because that means it's going to stay on your actual screen itself. Sometimes when you place something linked and you take the file and you put it to another photograph, it's going to link to the photograph and where you saved it, say documents. If you're in the wrong computer and you don't have that picture in the documents, it's going to ask you to link the image. So it's just a hassle to find the image or go to the other computer, download it, do whatever you need to do. So I would suggest you do place embedded. Again, just my opinion, but it works the best. Our first tool is the top tool here to the left. It's called our Move tool. As you can see, it says Move. And once you're on the layer, make sure, notice we're over here looking at layers. I imported something and layer 1 popped up already. Layers are crucial. Make sure your layer is highlighted. And once you have that move, I can move it. As you can see, there are going to be smart guides that tells me this is centered right in the middle and everything like that. I like to use my smart guides. Just gives you a nice centering, tools to know that you're actually centered things off. When I'm going to go back over to the right is the layers. As you can see, the layers looks just like Illustrator. We have the eyeballs here, so you can see it on and it's off. And we also have a background, which is locked. Most of the time, we're going to leave it locked. Other times, we will change it up. But for right now, we'll leave it locked. So the next thing I want to do is I want to make this picture as large as possible on my actual piece of paper, my 8.5 by 11. Two places to do this. We can do Edit, Free Transform, which is Control T. Love my Control T. I will actually do Control T because I like the shortcuts. But notice, back in the day in Photoshop, yes, I've been doing this for a long time, I'd have to tell you to hold the Shift button down to keep the photograph in ratio, which means my length and my width, or my height and my width, my length, height and, excuse me, brain fart, my height and my length will stay the same. It looks like this is a 2-to-1 ratio, which is pretty cool. I want to keep it that way. So just go ahead and grab a corner and pull it out. Pretty cool. It stays in there. No matter where I go, it stays in ratio. Okay. If you want it to go expand from both sides, hold the Alt button, the ALT, or for Mac users, the Command button, I believe. Hold that down and notice those from both sides. Now we're going to make sure it just looks good there. Fantastic. Now, when I move this, the picture may look a little pixelated. Don't panic. As you can see, it's still hidden under Control T because I still have the bounding box around it. That will go away unless you have a poorly pixelated picture, but it'll go away when you hit the Enter button and get rid of the transformation or the Control T. There's where I'll stop right now, but notice we've used the move and how to set up a page. You guys have a wonderful day, and I'll start number 2.